everyone, Noah Volz here, DC2B Revolution. This is an excerpt from a conversation I had with Dr. Kim Gambino about an event she has coming up in September called ChiroWunderLux. It's going to be a really one-of-a-kind, interesting event. So I really hope that you take the time to check this out and see if it calls to you.
We've gone to so many seminars and in chiropractic and outside of chiropractic that were, I want to say, Tony Robbins type seminars. I never did Tony Robbins. I went to one of them, but they were that type of seminar workshops for the last 25 years. And what I would notice is I would come home and I would have all these goals and it would be a lot of energy and my body would be like shaking and I would be excited. And then within either 3 days or even 3 weeks, I would be done again. And I'm like, wow, I need another one. I need another one. And then I stumbled on to, it's called Long Dance. It's a group of 60 to 75 women in the Olympic Peninsula up in Seattle area that do a dance all night. And I was invited by a chiropractor and, well, actually she told me about it and I said, I want to go. And I ended up there and I found out about the Native American ceremonies about dancing all night, which is basically Sundance. Sundance, I don't know if, are you familiar with Sundance?
I am, yeah. I have a roommate who's currently involved in the Sundance.
Mm-hmm. So if for people who don't know, I mean, we all know the film festival, but Sundance is designed, and I think it originated in the Grand Canyon where the Native Americans would dance all night to bring in good energy. And then the day before they would do a sweat lodge to cleanse that energy so they could have new stuff coming in. So they would let go and then it would all come back in. And so I would say my true spiritual journey, conscious, because I think I've always been on a spiritual path, but not as conscious, was when I went to Long Dance and I came back and my whole life it's not like it changed like, oh, you know, the sky's super blue as opposed to cloudy, but it was different. And the way I see things and the way things happen are different now. And when I went to that, I go, gosh, that would be really amazing to have something similar like this for chiropractors. And then we did a camping. We called it our first annual chiro camping trip down here in San Diego. And we had about 15 people, which was nice. And I did all the cooking and I did all the stuff and I did all the research and I did everything. And then I said I would never do another one. Like, I'm not doing it again. I'm done. And then I started going to kind of festival things, which is kind of strange because I'm more straight-laced type person. Probably I call them like a wannabe crunchy. And so I started going to a couple just local things and it was interesting. I'd never been around anything like a festival before. And then I went to an all-night dance here. And I know when I came off the mountain, even though we made jokes about how strange it was and how interesting the people were, that's how we put it, interesting. Never seen anything like that before. But I was different. And there was nothing that happened. I mean, I danced around a fire. And I was different. And then I started hearing about ceremony, like what ceremony is. And then it was March is my birthday. And I told Danny I wanted to go to this thing. And because I knew he wouldn't go with me unless it was my birthday. It was called Portal to the New Earth. And I said, let's go. And he's into sacred geometry. And he's like, okay. And so immediately he signed up for it. And it is at the location where ChiroWunderLux is. So the location is up, it's actually not in Joshua Tree. If you know anything about Joshua Tree, you're heading from LA, you're heading east, and then they call it the high desert. And the reason it's the high desert is because it's at 3,000 feet. So we're looking, there's pretty high up and it's a desert, which is amazing. So instead of going straight out to Joshua Tree, you'll go north a little bit. So it's a little bit north and it's, I guess when we went to the top of the hill, you could look down on Joshua Tree. And it's 650 acres. The guy, Garth, bought it about 30 years ago with the intention of putting something like this on. So for 30 years, he's not manicuring the land, but he's leaving the natural habitat, but it's really beautiful. And he has a natural spring on it, which is amazing. There's a crystal grid that goes through the property. So there's a high energy vortex. When you're on there, you feel it. And it's still at the same time. Some of the, there's no houses on this piece of property, but he does have living structures. He has a couple teepees, and he's got a couple sleeping structures that are built into the boulders, which are amazing. So we're looking at, I mean, these boulders are, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to some of them 20 feet high. And he'll have, so there'll be a boulder here, another boulder here, and then you walk in between and there's like a platform. And so, and then he's put a roof on it. So you're actually like sleeping in the boulders. And when you walk in, you just go, whoa, because all the vibratory stuff that we have going on here is not there. And just, you talk about healing. I mean, you feel it. Then you go back outside, you're like, oh, wow, what a difference. So when Danny and I went, and this festival was quite interesting also. We were the most REI type looking people there. I mean, we're like camping. So we have like our REI chairs, and, meanwhile they have like Burning Man outfits and stuff. And we're like, and it was really good though, because they were beautiful people. I mean, they were just, they come up and they just be like, oh, and I'm like, okay, I'm so new to this. And maybe you've done festivals, so it's pretty new that to see somebody to show up with no barriers, to have nothing on them. And so when we left, we were like, oh, it'd be cool if we, get something going up here. And that's kind of how it started. And then we came up to do Life 201 up at Life West. And I was hanging out with Brooke, and I told her about this place. And I said, let's do a camping trip. She's like, let's do it. And I go, all right, you got to help me. I said, I'm not doing it by myself. And then Andrea got involved, and she's like, yeah, we'll help. And then there was a fluke with my flight, and I stayed at the school. And then there was a CCA student board meeting, which I used to be involved with the student CCA. And we sat down, and I was just listening, and they're going, I don't know what to do about, we need to get more people, and how do we get them in, and enrollment. And I was just like, I have this idea. And they jumped on it, and they're like, that's exactly what we're looking for. So that's awesome. That's how that whole thing started.
That's so powerful. And I love the idea of ceremony. I feel like so many of the kind of the personal development oriented things are about giving you skills and techniques, but ultimately, I think it's from what comes, excuse me, what comes from the inside. And there's no better way to get in touch with that than ceremony, or dancing all night, or doing things that are uncharacteristic. And every ancient and indigenous and traditional culture in the entire world has had some sort of ceremony, whether it's fasting or dancing or fire ceremony. And so to kind of get back in touch with those roots, I think is super important, and especially for us as a chiropractic community. So can you tell us a little bit more about the logistics, how to get involved, where to find more information, how to take part in this amazing experience that's being provided?
Yes, we have a Facebook group going now that's disseminating the information presently. We're working on our website. We're going to be getting flyers, and then the flyers will be put up to schools. So, excuse me. I know that we were like on time. We're like, okay, we're at 30 minutes. But there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about why this is important as a group, not just individually. I don't want to talk about our past, because it's not relevant to where we're going. But I do feel like there needs to be a cleansing for all of us, not just personally, but as a group. And I don't like to use the word profession, because I don't like any words that we've used in the past, because there's stuff tied to them. But as our unit, or whatever we want to call it, that there needs to be whether it be a new starting point. And I spoke to a woman who said that she was in chiropractic for a couple of years, and then she got out, and she actually burned her diploma because something was saying don't do it, because there was so much fighting within the profession. And some students know this, some students don't, most of them do. I spoke to a girl here who just graduated maybe 6 months ago, and her dad was a chiropractor, and she said after 3 months of being in school, she almost quit because her dad was not involved with any of the politics or anything like that, and she had no idea that there was anything going on except chiropractic was love, chiropractic was love, chiropractic was love. And then she was like, wow. And so ChiroWunderLux is about bringing chiropractors together. It's about bringing the students together. If we start here, it doesn't matter what belief you have. It doesn't matter what technique you do. There are some schools that don't focus on chiropractic as much as others, and we want them to be involved just as much as the ones that are. And not that we want them to be involved more, we just want everyone to be involved. I mean, there are some schools that kids are, and this is just recently, we just found this out, fifth quarter have never done an adjustment. There are students that are graduating chiropractic schools that have never had spinal x-rays of themselves. There are students that don't know how to do a leg check when they graduate. I'm not saying that you have to do a leg check, but let's just say that it wasn't even part of their academic requirement. And so what I want to do is I want to put chiropractors, not the ones that are selling their stuff, not the ones that are selling their programs. I want to put local chiropractors on stage. It's kind of like a stage. We call it a stage at ChiroWunderLux, and they'll adjust 3 people, and the students will be watching, and I want them to take notes. Why did that person do this? Why did they do this? And I want the chiropractor to explain to them, well, this comes from Gonstead, and this is analysis, and this is what I picked up, and this is what I learned, because your practice is going to be you. It's going to be who you are and all the knowledge and all the experience that you've ever done. And if you decide to be a gondroid or upper cervical only, then that's fine too. That's what speaks to your heart. But that doesn't make somebody else's practice not as well or beautiful or great or as yours because they've pulled things. And I want the students to experience different ways of taking care of people, different ways of removing the subluxation. And as a practitioner, we get people all the time, well, we need somebody here, we need somebody there. And they go, but we want them to do what you do. And I said, it doesn't matter if they do what I do. If they're connected with their heart, with what they're doing, whatever that is, just go. Healing doesn't come from this, that, whatever. I mean, it's part of the physical application, but healing really comes from the 2 people connecting. So that's a really big thing for me with ChiroWunderLux, is to create our group again. And then the chiropractor that told me, the one that burned her diploma, she said, she goes, why would we ever have how could we ever grow as a profession if we're fighting amongst ourselves? And I thought about it, and I go, if our next door neighbors were fighting all the time, or a family member, would I want to go hang out in their house? Would I want to hang out with them at all? And because what we have is chiropractic, and I shouldn't have to say how amazing, how incredible, and all this kind of stuff it is. I mean, we are 100% in love just in it. I mean, chiropractic is who we are. So why hasn't it moved forward? And are there people in the world that are stopping us? A few. I mean, out of all the millions, maybe 100 people are really, really against us. Maybe, really, that actively do seek things out to hurt us. So what is it? Is it us? Is it because we make a judgment and I am not for drugs and chiropractic, but am I going to hate the guy because he's wanting drugs and chiropractic? He's still a person. He still believes that's what, for whatever reason. I think it would be easier if he would see a way of not having drugs in the profession, as opposed to me telling him he sucked, I can't believe you do this, blah, blah, blah. So if we can, I don't want to say all encompassing, but if we can let down the walls on that, maybe that's what it is. And then we can agree that we disagree, and that's just the way it is. And I'm not into politics anymore at all. I'm into spreading love in chiropractic. And that's how this came about. I mean, I think it's time, and I think this physical location, the things that we're bringing into doing it, we have some Native American type ceremonies. We also have a crystal bowls healing, and which is definitely new age is a vibrational thing for vibrational healing. So it's like we're bringing this here and then this here to above, down, inside out.
Great, thanks, Kim. So visit the Facebook group, ChiroWunderLux. You can also find a Facebook event page for ChiroWunderLux as well. You can find tickets at Chiro Tickets, and you can also find tickets at allevents.in. So look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.